In the modern era of games, there are a lot of soulless, uninspired cash grabs that suck hundreds of hours of your valuable time so that you can quote-unquote experience the game to its fullest. These games are stupid. These days, the release version of a game is considered good as long as it isn't too buggy, because these guys couldn't stop themselves from releasing a game a bit too early. Video games used to be completely eviscerated if the game released within a buggy state. But nowadays, it's completely fine to release the game with game-breaking bugs, and half the content ripped from the game to then be released over several seasons. The modern gaming industry has become very soft towards what constitutes a release-ready game. And let me clear this up. The publishers and developers aren't the only ones to blame. It's also the fans. We are the ones who fund this. Most games these days are boring, so a lot of the time, I have to go back to the classics. But no other game gives me the same giddy smile on my face as I boot it up as Uncharted 4. When a game released well over 7 years ago can beat a majority of AAA games in terms of storytelling, graphics, and character dynamics, there's something wrong. Among the games made in the last 20 years, Uncharted 4 is still one of the best. It's able to rival games made with way more advanced software and technology. Uncharted 4 is incredibly immersive. From the parkour to the combat to the cutscenes, this game doesn't give you a break. Uncharted 4 is a playable movie, there's no denying that. But even then, you just cannot rip away the credit that this game deserves. Games don't need to be open world, 200-hour experiences that have 8,000 different items to collect, and 14 possible storylines that impact the ending of the game. They can be the simple story mode games that you sit down to play after a tough day. With Uncharted 4, you can sit down, kick your feet up and grab a drink, and do one thing that so many games somehow fail at delivering: having fun. When you play this game, you can tell that it was made with you in mind. It was made to be enjoyable, not competitive, not purely focused on profits. It was made to give you a good time. The traversal in the game is very seamless. The variety of how you approach each cliffside and building that you'll have to climb makes you more and more immersed in the moment. The traversal is also enhanced by the visual quality of this game. Every time you climb something, you're always accompanied by beautiful views. The witty dialogue when exploring the world with Sam, Elena, or Victor makes this game's exploration so much more enjoyable. And the snarky quirks that the characters say even in the most dire moments helps relieve the tension a bit, and will definitely make you crack up at least once. Every combat scenario you engage in can be handled in a different way, even if your whole journey is set out for you. It is your decision on how you want to deal with the challenges in this game. From well-refined combat to taking down enemies using stealth, the world is your playground. Hell, you could beat this entire game using only your bare hands, outside of the scripted gunfights. The gameplay of Uncharted 4 is incredibly well made. It takes on what it can, not what it quote-unquote has to. Uncharted 4 is ambitious towards its formula. There is no grand readaptation or reboot of the series. It takes the good from the past games and adds more upon it to improve it. Looking at the game itself, Uncharted 4 is still incredibly visually impressive. And not just in terms of raw graphics. The art style, the settings, the color scheme, the atmosphere. Uncharted 4 is absolutely beautiful. When exploring the dungeons, where Avery and the rest of the pirates planned the blueprints for Libertalia, you could just feel every inch of history in that place. The sculpted models of the city street, the worn-down blueprints, the massive statues of the crew. This game provides so much atmosphere in such an incredible way. This game is pure eye candy, and not just because it has RTX on, but the style of the game is gorgeous. Simple tasks like exploring the islands on the boat to the insane car chase scene are both equally as beautiful. The part where Nathan wakes up in the cave and has to make it to the mountain on the opposite side is genuinely one of the most mind-bogglingly beautiful moments I've ever experienced in any video game. When I think of what a good game looks like, Uncharted 4 is my top pick. And the fact is that Uncharted 4 isn't even the most graphically detailed and robust game out there. There's tons of AAA games that release with better looking graphics, but because the game itself has a poor art style, the graphics are merely just detailed. They're not eye-catching, they're not something you'd stop and look at. They're just something that you notice and move on. This is what I love about Uncharted 4. The developers made each area feel as pretty as it could. They didn't push all the budget and team towards making one part of the game look good. They said, no, we will make the most gorgeous game you've ever played, even when you're shooting Nerf guns in an attic. Uncharted 4 is one of the most consistently jam-packed pieces of fiction I have ever experienced. You simply cannot find a part of the game where an area is not detailed. I played this game through with almost all graphic settings on low and upscaling on, and it still looked insanely good while running smoothly. I mean, just look at this. Uncharted 4 delves deep into the lives of thieves. We are a thief, the person whose treasure we're trying to find, thief. The person we're up against, big old shady thief. This game takes you on a journey that for the most part seems like a fascinating idea. Finding the treasure of Henry Avery. But behind the surface of this ridiculous adventure, Uncharted 4 explores stuff that is deep within our lives. But before we go any deeper into this game, I need to address Naughty Dog's one big flaw in their stories. This. Yeah, we kill a lot of people in Uncharted. And all for what? A treasure? You could say that they had to kill people for self-defense, but half the time it wasn't necessary. Those men we killed, most of them were probably fathers, yet the story never takes that into account. And there's one big dodgy reason for that. It doesn't matter. This isn't a video game that tries too hard to be correct. This isn't a commentary on the morals and ethics of life. It's a cinematic experience. And when a game is this ridiculous, it's fair to say that you don't need to take into account everything we do. And it would be a shame if people look too deep into this and it ends up ruining their experience with this game. And if it does ruin your experience of the game, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that you're dumb. Uncharted 4 is a ridiculous ride that lets you explore the curiosity of adventure, blood-pumping combat, and lets you witness a story filled with deep and connecting character dynamics. This isn't a realistic game, and it doesn't need to be. It is pure entertainment. With all that said, let's talk about perhaps the most crucial part of Uncharted 4's story and atmosphere, the character dynamics. From Sam's lies about being in danger from a notorious criminal, to Rafe's bloodthirsty hunt for Avery's treasure, every character shares something deep with each other. Being able to flesh characters out this deeply is an immense task. Yet, Naughty Dog has done it for years. The performances by the voice actors were incredible. The emotions that the characters feel in certain moments are the same ones that you feel. This is Naughty Dog's specialty, being able to tell stories not from an outsider's perspective, but from the characters themselves. And yes, this does apply for the incredibly controversial The Last of Us 2. So, that brings us to this question. Why do we need more games like Uncharted? Uncharted 4 is a fun game, and in the sea of roguelikes and incredibly sad games that make up most of Sony's game catalog, Uncharted is one of the few games from Sony that I genuinely had fun in. I'm not saying that the game I just made a video about isn't enjoyable. Enjoyable doesn't equal fun. But for God's sake, you can make a masterpiece without having to make everyone and their grandmas depressed with your cynical writing. I'm not saying that sad games aren't great. God of War's very somber tone is incredibly refreshing when compared to the trilogy of games that happened before it. There are moments when we need serious moments in fun games. There are also moments when we need a more serious game. But that doesn't have to be every game. Hell, that doesn't even need to be half the games out there. I am genuinely waiting for the day that developers will start making fun games again. Actually, to be honest, I'm still waiting for them to stop remastering remasters. For God's sake, Sony, just port this series onto PC and be done with it. Stop making us pay for the same game 3 times. I'm just joking. I don't pay for video games.